Welcome to the missed Zoom class video for Friday, February 26th. Know that all your feedback is updated in your Unit 5 exam. So if you open up your Unit 5 molecular structures exam, you should be able to see feedback where for every single question you get wrong in a blue box, there will be a link to an explanation or a video of me explaining how to solve that problem. So this means you should be able to complete your retakes for that. And if you don't know the steps for retaking, they're located on your materials page or main page on your Schoology class where it says how to retake tests. So if you click on that, just follow these 4 steps listed here, and that will let you know what you need to do to complete the retake. So our learning goal for today is to go over Nearpod lesson 6.3. So as we're going over Nearpod lesson 6.3, if you got kind of stuck with some of the problems, which I noticed a couple people have, I'm just going to go over a couple of tips of how to identify which one of these 5 types of reactions we're looking at when we're looking at a chemical equation. So, for example, right, if I'm looking at this one or this one, I need to identify which one of these 5 chemical reactions it could be. So, in your notes, this is what you should have: a list of the names, as well as the general structure of each chemical equation. So let me note what I'm paying attention to so that you can kind of follow the same cues. So in a combination or synthesis reaction, or in a decomposition reaction, I'm going to mark in red the general structure that I'm noticing. Right, so mainly in a combination or synthesis reaction, I'm looking for a plus sign before the arrow, and then after the arrow, I'm only seeing one molecule or one thing. For a decomposition reaction, I'm noticing just one molecule before the arrow, and then after the arrow, there's only one plus sign involved, right? If I'm looking for a single replacement or double replacement reaction, for both of these, I see two plus signs, one before the arrow, one after the arrow. So notice that for single replacement and double replacement, they have a plus sign before and after the arrow, right? And the main difference between single and replacement is that in a single replacement reaction, I should see just one element by itself before and after the arrow, right? And for a double replacement reaction, they're going to be all molecules. Which means I have 2 or more elements. So 2 plus elements. And lastly, the thing that's kind of different is a combustion reaction. So when I'm looking for a combustion reaction, I'm paying attention to mainly the parts after the arrow that I should always see CO2 and H2O for my products. Every single time I light something on fire, I'm producing CO2 and H2O. Before the arrow, I should also notice that there is an O2, right? So the things marked in red and in purple are the things I'm paying attention to when I'm looking at these molecules to try to figure out which one or type of reaction it is. So let's go over this first one. So notice that right away, I can see a plus sign before the arrow, and I can see a plus sign after the arrow, right? So the only two types of reactions that have a plus sign before the arrow and after arrow is either single replacement, double replacement, also combustion. So I also look at the products at the end. Do I see CO2 and H2O? No, I do not. So I know it cannot be combustion. It's got to be one of these two. So then I'm going to scan through the molecule, looking at this and this, right? So notice that the parts in red are separating these elements or molecules. And if I notice Mg, I only see one capital letter. So that means this is one element, right? And I also see one element Fe after the arrow. Right, so anytime I only see one element, that tells me that, hey, this is a single replacement reaction. So this is a single replacement reaction. I'm gonna write SR for short. For this next type of problem, let's go through the same process again. Let me erase this part. Okay. So first, let me check to see if it is a combustion reaction. So do I see CO2 and H2O after the arrow? No, I do not. So I know it can't be this one, right? And I also notice that there is a plus sign before the arrow, and there's a plus sign after the arrow. Notice that combination or synthesis, this one, and decomposition only have one plus sign, either before or after the arrow. So it can't be this one, and it can't be this one. So since I only see two plus signs, it's got to be this one or this one, right? So the way I tell single replacement apart from double replacement is that in single replacement, there should only be one element for the reactants and products. For double replacements, I have all molecules or two or more elements. So let's look at each one of these separately. One, two, three, four. So I notice one capital letter N, one capital letter B. So I have two elements. So this is a molecule. Here I have a capital M, capital Cl, two molecules, capital N, capital C, two more elements, so a molecule, capital M, capital B, two or more elements. So all of these have two or more elements. So I am looking at a double replacement, right? Because each one of these is a molecule. So let's do one more together. And for this one, so for this one up top, right, I'm noticing that CO2 and H2O are not my products, right? So I have CO2, but I don't have H2O, right? So this cannot be a combustion reaction. I don't see a plus sign before the arrow, so it can't be either of these, right? Because for this one, for these two, there's always a plus sign before and after the arrow. So it's got to be one of these two, right? In a decomposition reaction, I have arrow plus sign after. And notice this is arrow plus sign after, meaning this molecule will break apart, right? So it's probably a decomposition reaction. Just to double check, combination or synthesis reaction is a plus sign and then arrow, right? So does not follow. So this one is a decomposition reaction. Right. So those were the main common errors that I noticed for Nearpod 6.3. At this point, you should be able to complete the launch. So recall that your launch goal is to only miss one question. If you get certain questions wrong, you'll get a feedback by clicking on View Score. And for every question you get wrong, there should be a gray box with a link that will go over how to solve something. Right? And then you can try the retake. Make sure you complete the Nearpod lessons first before you complete the launch, though. Otherwise, none of this will make sense. So if you didn't finish your homework from yesterday, in the week 7 folder, under Thursday or yesterday's class materials, go ahead and click on Homework, Unit 6, Making Medications, Lesson 6.3, in order to finish that first. And once you're done with that, you should be able to complete the launches linked here, February 26th, Zoom-class links. Right, so here you'll find the link to the launch as well as the link to the launch retake, just in case you need more practice. And that's pretty much it today for Friday, February 26th.